So welcome back to the injury report. We're still talking about the ICE shooting in Minnesota. And with all of this that's going on, we have for you today something that nobody else is talking about. And once you know this fact, it kind of changes your perspective of the shots fired. And we're joined today by Jeff Smith, firearms expert.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Looking forward to today.
Yeah, me too. I said it's fortunate and unfortunate that we keep having to have you on for shootings in America.
Yeah, it's but I think we need to be coming from, the same kind of foundation or platform, if you will, so that we can have an honest debate about that. And it's unfortunate that, if you start from two different levels, you're never going to come to some type of debate agreement. And so I'd like to look at well, really what is the platform or the base we should be coming from. So
before we get into that though, Jeff, I wanted to ask you, because we were talking, you, Megan, and I, and you told us some information that honestly we hadn't heard before. And it really kind of opened our eyes as far as perspective about this shooting when it comes to the shots fired by that officer.
But we'll hold back on that, don't you think? Don't you want them wondering?
So let me give you a little bit more background on me. I know I've introduced myself a couple of times here on the podcast, but I won't. Although I was, grew up with guns. My dad was an avid hunter, things like that. So got into the Boy Scouts, got into the military. Really got proficient with firearms, and took a CCW class when I first got here to Arizona, and I thought that it's got to be better than this. And so I started becoming a student of the law. And although I am not an attorney, I am not a law enforcement officer, I am not at any of that level. I just started studying the law. And what does it really mean? We can read the law and some of us go, okay. And I don't know what that really means, but okay. And then you have to come from a perspective of, you have boundaries in the law, but the criminal doesn't. So how do I make that work? And
you're an instructor for firearms instructors. So you instruct the instructors.
Yeah. So I have rose to a level now that I'm actually teaching instructors, people how to be instructors. And I am of the belief that everybody needs to be an instructor. Not everybody needs to teach. And what I mean by that is, if you go to the range and you're just poking holes in cardboard, how do you improve? Right? You got to have some coach, you got to have some instructor, you got to have somebody that's mentoring you to get better. Now, if you become an instructor, at least you have the foundation of what the fundamentals are, and realize if you're doing something incorrectly or that can be improved. I also think that you need to have a coach. If you want to get proficient at something, you have to have a coach. Look at Olympic athletes. They have a coach. They have a personal coach. Look at football players. Look at NBA players. Look at baseball players. They have
singers have voice coaches.
That's absolutely right. Anything that you do and you want to be proficient at it, you got to have a coach. So I wanted to be that. I wanted to get to that level, and to get to that level, guess what? I had to have coaches, right? So, and a lot of those coaches told me, you need to go to this school and you need to go to this school. So let me just give you a couple of schools that I've gone to. I've gone to 6 Hour Academy. I become a master pistol instructor. I've become a pistol mounted optics instructor and an armor for the striker fire style gun, which is the P320. I've gone to a class here in Phoenix, Arizona called Force Science. That is a class that is really the science behind sports. Now, I took the part that law enforcement takes, the science behind the sport of shooting. And I found out some statistics that are unbelievable. Like, do we see in real time?
Yes, that's it.
That's
exactly
what he was talking about last night. I'm like, wait, I just have a question. Why would these cops, when they're shooting, shoot multiple times? Like, why not just shoot once and then that's it.
And then check it out.
Yes, and you gave me this really scientific reasoning, and I was mind blown. So,
Yeah.
do you want to tell everyone that?
So I think let's. Yes, I want to leave that for a little bit later in the conversation when it's pertinent to. We also have to look at, law enforcement has to follow the law, right?
Of course.
And so they have to know that they're inside the boundaries.
Right.
And we have to also know as a citizenry that not everybody plays inside the law. And so there's 3 people in the state of Arizona that can talk about the law. So a jurist, somebody that is an attorney, can talk about the law. A sworn peace officer in the state of Arizona can talk about the law. And I'm talking about inside a CCW class. And also, so the third person that can talk about the law is an NRA pistol instructor who has been licensed in the state for the armed guard instructor position. So that is a position that you can go up through the pistol ranks and then apply through the state of Arizona ACDPS and become an armed guard instructor. And so you now have a license from the state that says you know and understand the use of force. And we have 2 here in the state of Arizona. We have use of physical force and use of deadly physical force. And so those fall under Title 13, 404, and 405. Those are the definitions of those 2. And but I think we should back up a little bit and really look at the Constitution, mainly the First and Second Amendment, okay, and just have a base. If you think that is
I think that's a great idea.
Good idea to start from.
Because everyone always throws that out. What about the Second Amendment? What about the First Amendment? That's the arguing going back and forth with everything right now.
So I want to start with, let's just read what it says, right? So the First Amendment, I have some notes here. So Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble. I think we miss a word in there every once in a while. The right of the people to peacefully assemble, and to petition the government for regress of grievance. So let's start there. That's what it says. And you have to remember that the Bill of Rights was really a restriction on the government.
Totally was.
It was not a restriction on the citizens. It was a restriction on the government.
Okay, can you guys explain that a little more to this girl who doesn't understand what you mean?
Yeah, so it says Congress shall make no law. So you can't make a law that says, hey, you can't peacefully assemble.
Oh, okay.
You have a right. Now we have to talk about
hang on, because that doesn't mean that you just have an automatic right to show up, because peaceful assemblies, the law allows for the government to kind of tailor when that's allowed. You've got to get a permit.
Yes.
Really?
You've got to have a permit.
So do these people have permits out in Minnesota?
Of course not.
Of course not.
So that right there is illegal then.
If you're going to have a parade, you got to get a permit. If you're going to have a protest, you got to get a permit.
Yeah.
But so like what people would say is, let's say conservatives are in the House. When would they ever give a permit? Is that a judge, or how does that work exactly?
There's a process online that you can go right to the state government and apply for that. So a lot of times you'll see videos and say, well, we have a permit to be here.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what they're talking about.
And if you meet the requirements for the permit, they can't deny it.
Yeah. And again, the state government they don't want to deny you that. They just want to say, okay, you're going to be here from this time to this time. This is what you have a location to be in, and don't go beyond that.
So what people don't understand, these people being out there without these permits are already breaking the law.
Okay. So, and we're going to talk about, we're going to go down this timeline to see what's going on. But at first we got to start here.
Yeah.
Okay. So the First Amendment is pretty clear. So let's talk about peaceful assembly.
There you go.
Okay, so peaceful assembly is defined as without disturbance.
Oh, of anybody?
Yeah.
Oh.
Quietly.
I mean, they
Quietly
probably let them blow their
So
whistles
no
and yell and
yelling
chant.
or throwing ice balls.
Throwing ice balls, I would say, is a no.
This next one is really good. Without agitation.
Right.
Without interruption of service. So cars going up and down the street, restaurants, businesses, without interruption. Okay. And the last one is without war.
Right.
Okay. So that's really what peacefully is said. So if it's any of those, that's not peaceful.
And if it's without the permit, then it's not abiding by
then
that.
it's not following the law.
Well, I think people watch movies and they romanticize this stuff and they're like, we're going to go out there and we're not going to let them do this and la, 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 right? Like they act like
Totally.
that, but they're the cops going, okay, illegal, 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 illegal. And then they're like, they did nothing wrong.
Right.
But this is the United States Constitution.
Right. And if they don't
Do
like
you
it, they
think
need to change
the
it.
state has a constitution? as
Yes.
well?
Of course they do.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
The state has a constitution as well. So we also have to look at that, right? So this is what the United States said, the Bill of Rights, and we got to talk about what really is a right, okay? Because we don't want it to turn into a privilege. And a while back, and I can't remember exactly how long ago, but I read a story from Patrick Henry. Do you remember Patrick Henry? What he's famous for?
Yes.
Right? Give me
liberty or give me death.
Death,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Well, what led to that speech was that as a young Christian attorney, and how often do you hear about that, right? He rode into Culpeper, Virginia, and in the town square were 3 pastors being whipped and scourged like Jesus Christ. Okay. And he turned to a man standing there watching this and he said, for what has this man done that's causing him to be whipped? And the man looked up and he said he failed to take a license to preach. Whoa, wait a minute. We have a right to preach. So they turned what was a right into a privilege by causing a license, right? How about hunting?
Yeah.
How about fishing?
and this gets kind of parallel to the permits for protesting and assembling and that type of thing. Just because it's a right does not mean that the government has no ability and no right to control and curtail it. And if you think about the assemblies, the protests, the government has to know about it because they have to know how to deploy protection, law enforcement, to protect the protesters and to protect the citizenry. And you mentioned keeping all of the traffic open and all of the systems available for the rest of this. You can't have a situation where it gets out of hand and it puts people at risk. So they're not just looking at controlling the mob and the protesters. They're looking at protecting them and protecting the citizens. Right.
Yeah. So we got that. We got the First Amendment. And then a lot of people said this week about, he had a right. He had a CCW, a permit for concealed weapons carry.
Alex.
Yes.
Well,
or whoever.
Anybody that's carrying a gun at a protest,
okay.
Right? I've carried guns at protests, right? Okay. I don't go to very many, but I have been known to go to a couple and just hear. I really want to hear what the debate is and what their concerns are. I think that's important for us as citizens to be involved in the debate. Okay. So the Second Amendment, pretty simple.
Let's hear it.
So if we think about what the Second Amendment was about, and I apologize. Where did I must have turned this over somewhere because now I've lost it. The Second Amendment says that you have the people have a right to keep and bear arms, and it also talks about a militia Now, there's been argument about what that was all about, but if you go back through the history, the origin of where the founders really took the information to write the Second Amendment, and they argued about it if it should be the First Amendment, and it went back and forth, right? And so when it was ratified in 1771, I think it was, it became the Second Amendment. Okay. And again, it was in the Bill of Rights, right? Those first 10 are in our Bill of Rights.
Right.
And so then the states had to work on their constitutions, right? So, but it came from the English origins developed in the late 16th century. I don't know if many people know about that, but Queen Elizabeth I instituted a national militia because she wanted every citizen to be able to have a gun in case an attacking a force, right? And we hear stories, or at least I did when I was a kid in school, where China was afraid to invade the United States because behind every blade of grass was a citizen with a gun. Now, whether that was true or not,
it was enough to make them fearful.
It was enough for them to stay obey.
Correct.
And so, that's kind of I think that was a good thing. Well, they took that, the founders took that and said, hey, we need that here in the United States. And that's what the actual part about the militia is all about, okay, is a well-regulated. What does regulated mean? Well, if we look at the definition, regulated meant that they were supplied, okay, meant that they were trained, meant that they had a gun, okay. Now, if you don't believe in guns or don't want to have a gun or that's not your lifestyle, I don't want you to have a gun. But I don't want you to impede my right to have a gun, okay. And so that's really the Second Amendment was, again, the Congress shall make no law.
Yeah, just like the first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to add to the context of that militia, at that time, obviously the foundings of our country, there were regular troops, and then there was the militia, which was supplemental troops to the regular troops. So that was the citizens that came and fought in supplement and alongside of our troops. It wasn't in opposition to our troops.
Sure. Like the National Guard.
Yeah.
Okay. But it could be against tyranny as well.
Sure.
Because it was made up of the citizens of the United States. So a well-regulated militia being necessary to security of a free state. Okay. Pretty good. Regulated.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we talk about that. So that's the Second Amendment. Then they put the word shall not be infringed, right? And a lot of people have arguments about that. Any law against the Second Amendment is infringement,
right?
Is it not? And so we'll allow the Supreme Court to decide on that. We're not going to decide that here today.
Now, Meg, you're really our kind of social media liaison here, with as active as you are on it. And typically what we hear is we hear the conservative side more pushing this right to bear arms, the Second Amendment. And now are you hearing the flip side with this Alex in Minnesota on the liberal side?
Yes, of course.
That's kind of interesting, isn't it?
It's interesting, but it's not shocking. Whatever defends and protects certain individuals when they speak emotionally versus factually, it works for them. So it's not shocking that whatever script is flipped. And I'm not saying both sides don't do that to a certain degree, but it just, whatever's convenient at the time, it's like you show them, one video is showing something that they feel that they benefit from. Then the next video, it doesn't really benefit them. So like, for instance, right now there's a video of Alex kicking out a officer's vehicle taillight. And then people are like, see, they had it in for him. They wanted to execute him 11 days later. It's like, it just keeps moving. But I think as humans, do you think that we tend to try and protect our beliefs by grasping at straws? So if the gun doesn't work for something, but now it benefits you to support the gun and his right, then they're going to do that. It's the hypocrisy that I talk about all the time,
Yeah.
talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Yeah, totally agree.
And if you look at that video all the way through, from the spitting
Yes, he was spitting on the vehicle.
and from the profanity that he was yelling at that officer. And I want to just clarify a couple of things. That officer didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to go to Minnesota. Okay. Now I'll give you an example of that. When I was in the military, the first Gulf War, I woke up one morning and got orders to deploy to the Middle East. Okay. Now I had two choices. I could either go or I could be court-martialed. Okay. It wasn't me that made that decision. It was the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. Whether I liked the man or not, he had made that decision that we were going to deploy to the Middle East. And so being sworn an oath to our country and a military operative, I picked up and deployed to the Middle East.
Okay, but and Megan, I think you've heard some of this and seen this again on social media. What about the people who say things like, yeah, but you signed up for it. So you were already predisposed, or you were already agreeing with that anyway. You were ready to do it. And just like with the ICE agents, they signed up to be ICE agents. So this is what they wanted to do. So this is, in my opinion, allowing people to actually blame the officers personally, as opposed to looking at the chain of command. I mean,
isn't it kind of the same thing? You're confusing me a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying the people who are angry at ICE agents and trying to stop them and spit on them and are really angry at the agents themselves. And we're saying, yeah, but they're just following orders. They're not the people that are making the decision.
Correct.
But the same people who are angry at the ICE agents will say, yeah, but they signed up to do this job. So that's giving them the emotional ammunition to be angry at the individual agents. Isn't that what you're seeing? I've seen some of that.
I'm missing it a little bit. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I think that they're basically calling them Nazis, and they're just out there doing whatever they feel like they're doing, like bullying. I did a post where it shows that there was deportation throughout all the administrations. Even Tom Homan was awarded by Obama for doing such a great job in deportations. But yet, when they're doing it under Trump, there's all these riots, and they're saying, well, it's because they're being aggressive. And is it the chicken or the egg? Are they being aggressive? Or maybe it's because you're out there creating issues that it feels like they're becoming aggressive, because I believe there are a lot of paid agitators out there. I mean, who prints these signs up? All of a sudden you have all this mob going out there, and there's 20,000 printed signs. Everybody got together and was like, let's print these signs.
Right.
I mean, who's paying for that? All these people that are standing out there? I don't think so. I mean, don't they have jobs? I mean, maybe not. But I do think that people are blaming ICE agents for the temperature that the country's in. Like, it's your fault. You shouldn't be out there. Because the videos that they show, right? They're highly volatile, but it's like, this person has probably been aggravating them for 6 hours now, or whatever they're doing, or however many hours, and they're following them and agitating. And then finally they get out of their vehicle after they're being spit at and kicked and, all this stuff. And they're like, stop it. And they like get them away, and they're like, see, that's bullying. And you're like, wait a minute. Were you there the entire time? It's like illegal. He's getting in our way. He's in the street. He's doing this. He's doing that. And finally they're like, fine, all of those things are illegal, but on the 99th illegal thing, I'm going to take control of the situation. And they're like, how dare you do your job?
Right. In that one video that you showed me of when he's kicking out the tail light and he finally gets taken to the ground, people start yelling, stop, what are you doing? Stop. Like,
because we're just supposed to let people be however they want and kick cars and spit at officers and do all. And that's unfortunate, because like I said, my dad used to say, cops have to be correct 100% of the time. People get to just be willy-nilly and be whatever they want to be. And cops are like putting up with it and putting up with it and putting up with it and putting up with it. And then they're like you had talked about asking for the bathroom multiple times. Where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? And then finally they're like, stop it. Just get away, move. And then, I don't know. It was cracking me up when people were like, stop. You're like, wait a minute.
Why weren't you yelling stop when he was kicking out the taillight or spitting on him? Or
because they're like, it's that movie mentality. Go get him. Go get him. We're gonna get back. It's like they have this like false romanticized image of what getting back at the government looks like. But like, hey, like bad things happen when you act poorly and you don't make good decisions. You might not like the law and you might want to go out there and be crazy, but don't expect crazy things not to happen.
And I think we're living in an era right now, and I've said this before, where the bad actor, emotionally, that person and everybody that supports that person feels like they should be able to do whatever they want. And it's the person who calls out or stops the bad actor that gets vilified and ends up being the bad actor in the media, in popular comment. And instead of looking at the root cause, what was this guy doing? He was breaking the law. And we've got statutes. You're talking about the Constitution. There's also state and federal statutes that make it absolutely illegal to obstruct a law enforcement officer while he's carrying out his duty. I looked at Minnesota statutes and I looked at the federal statutes. These are federal officers. They're operating in Minnesota. Both the federal statutes and the Minnesota statutes make it illegal for anybody to obstruct them carrying out their lawful duty. And they have a warrant signed off by a judge. It's a lawful duty.
Yeah. And you might not know this, but ICE agents cannot interact with the citizenry. They're there for illegal aliens, right? So if they do get involved with a civilian, right, that needs to be turned over to civilian authorities, right? Typically the local police. Well, why did we bring Customs and Border Patrol up there? Because Minnesota's local police wasn't helping out.
Right.
ICE knew that they are not supposed to interact with these people, so let's get Customs and Border Patrol because they can't.
Right, and that's who ended up
their
shooting,
jurisdiction.
Yeah,
right.
Border Patrol.
So we should also look at, yes, lawful, but awful. All right. So yes, something may be lawful for you to do, but the optics of it are awful. Okay. So in that interaction that he had with ICE agents the week prior to, he was also carrying a gun. You can see it in the video. It's exposed. And the officers just, again, they said, well, look, he left him there and got back in the truck and left. Well, because he was a civilian, a citizen of the United States, not an illegal. So he said, my jurisdiction ends there. Okay. He was telling him to stop, don't do that. I think I remember one person saying he didn't do anything illegal. Property damage is illegal. I'm sorry. Property damage is very illegal.
Spitting is actually illegal.
On a federal agent.
As a prosecutor, I charged people with battery when they would spit on somebody else. That meets the definition of battery.
Absolutely.
And actually, because it can, there's communicable diseases that people can get, it can be dangerous. So it's a chargeable offense.
So we look at protected class. You're a protected class for being a lawyer, right? So on the courthouse grounds, you are protected. So assault goes to aggravated assault.
Right.
It's automatic. A judge, police officer, EMT, fire, school teachers, administrators, things like that, all are protected class.
So what you're saying is while they're carrying out their duties, if somebody attacks them, then that
spits on them.
It's not just a person against a person.
Exactly.
And that's how people want to emotionally look at it. Like if someone spit on me, I wouldn't get thrown onto the ground, or maybe I would, but they're looking at it as this citizen to citizen level.
Yeah. So here is an agent, an ICE agent, right, wrong, or indifferent. He is carrying out his duties. He's a protected class. So you now do something. It's not, no, I just spit on him. No, that's aggravated assault. Okay. And so again, all of these illegal things add up and you get to a point where, hey, we gotta push back. Now, in the incident that we're talking about today, where the ICE agent pushes a woman out of the roadway.
Was it an ICE agent or was it people were saying it was Border Patrol?
Okay, so I'll say federal agent because I
Okay,
don't know
okay.
right off the top of my. So they're pushing her out of the road so they can get vehicles through. Okay, and this gentleman comes to this lady's, I guess, on a white horse as a rescue, and gets involved in this. Now, whether these agents knew him or not, interacted with him before or not, is I think right now at this moment is irrelevant. We need to talk about, okay, he had a choice to make. He had a choice to come to that protest, that
Correct.
area of protest. Now we have been we see now that there was a chat. He was in the chat, and his presence was requested. Okay. So it wasn't just, hey, I'm going to show up. Okay. So how he got there.
People asked him to come.
Okay. So he's there. He chose to bring a gun. Okay. Okay. Your choice. Again, you have a right to do it, but you then have some responsibilities. I'm sorry, but you have some responsibilities. If you choose to get involved in impeding a police action, there's maybe some consequences. Okay. Now, unfortunately, those consequences ended up in the shooting death of this individual. Okay. Well, we're there now. We're past that. So now we can all Monday night quarterback this thing and look at this. You brought a gun. Law enforcement is trained that if anybody interacting with a person sees a threat, so a knife, a gun, whatever that could be a tool used against officers, they're trained to yell that out.
And they're doing this to protect each other.
And they're making everybody else aware of that. Okay. Now, one of the tactics is everybody moves away from that and draws a firearm, right? Okay. If we all get on top of him, and somebody draws a gun, they're liable to get shot.
Okay.
So now let's talk about, do we see in real time? Okay.
This is what we were teasing at the beginning.
Because I asked you last night with Renee Good and him, why the multiple shots? Why not just take one shot as a police officer? How does that work? And you enlightened me.
So, so we train on knowing our numbers. And when I talk about knowing our numbers, how fast does it take me to draw? How fast does it take me to get first shot on target? How fast are my splits? Okay, splits are between shots, right? So to give you an example, my draw stroke from a holstered rig like a law enforcement officer is 0.82. Okay,
wow.
So less than a second, I bring my gun out and get one shot on target.
Oh, that includes the first shot too. Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I know I know it's on target. You don't miss.
Okay. And then my splits are 0.22. So now I'm getting 4 to 5 shots out per second. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, now we got to bring in the eyeball, the optic nerve and the brain and what it's seeing. Okay. So we learn in force science that the eyeball takes about 0.7 of a second to recognize something has changed. So think about somebody is standing in front of you and they move. Okay. And I draw from my holster and I press out, and that individual has moved and my brain hasn't said that yet or noticed it yet. So now I've got to, well, he's over here. Oh, now he's moving. So it's really hard to catch up to them, right? Because we're seeing in that delayed time. Now, when we say 0.7 of a second, that's not a whole lot, but it is delayed time. If they were there, now they're here. Now they're here. Okay.
It's enough to make you miss your target.
Yes. Okay. You have to have some training to understand that. Okay. So somebody shoots somebody. I did this in a simulation where I shot the target 7 times total, about a second and almost 2 seconds, 7 times. Okay. On on the first shot out of my gun in the simulator, the guy dropped the knife.
Oh, wow.
But my eyesight and my brain did not tell me the threat was over
Until seven
I got
bullets.
6 more rounds out.
6 more rounds.
Okay. So when we look at that, when we look at the officer and any officer that shoots multiple times, his eyesight, optic nerve, and the brain are catching up to that it's no longer a threat. Let's say when they go into court, their attorney says, well, hey, we can see in the video that the guy dropped the gun.
Right.
Or dropped whatever it was, on the second or third shot, and you continued to fire. Well, yeah, because my eyes hadn't caught up with that yet. Okay.
It hadn't registered in your brain.
Right. Now, so somebody's saying verbally, gun, 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 and that officer drawing, and you see all the officers kind of back away, this officer decides he's going to, maybe it was planned that, hey, if we come into a threat situation, you and you are going to draw, right? Everybody else is going to stay holstered, right? So they draw and they start firing, okay? Well, you can see it takes about a second. Well, 7/10 is about a second, right, before they stop shooting. Okay. And that, I believe, is really, most people don't understand that. Most people, don't recognize that that's what the optic nerve and the brain are communicating.
Right. Because it looks like, as just a normal person, you're like, oh, yeah, they should. And then, you're like, wow, the guy's down. He's down. He's down. Quit shooting. Quit shooting. Wow, that's aggressive. Like, that's how it feels as just a lay person not understanding that. Yeah. But you explaining how that works, it's not like him, like, one wasn't enough. Get down, you jerk, blah, blah, blah. Because then that makes it seem so full of anger and rage, where then it becomes safety and like getting back at someone.
Yeah. So then we have to talk about the adrenaline and the dopamine dumped into the system. All right.
Right.
And how that works and why it works the way it does. I mean, God made an incredible body. So just a little bit of dopamine and adrenaline makes single moms can lift cars off of babies.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, I had a story about that. Can I tell real quick?
Yeah, of course.
So when we were in Wisconsin, we had a house in Wisconsin, and we had a speedboat, and my grandmother had severe rheumatoid arthritis. Like, her hands were like this. She could barely walk. Well, they put the ski boat into the lake, and he was coming around in front of our house, and it started sinking. They never put the plug back in. So we had to get the trailer off to the car. My grandma, who had a cane, who could barely walk, went running up to the garage and pulled that entire trailer out to the street like she was Wonder Woman. And you're like, what in the heck? Yeah. So I just had to add that.
Yeah. So
it's true.
Yeah, it is.
So we talk about stress inoculation and training. We talk about these different things because we have to be able to add that shot of dopamine or that shot of adrenaline into your system to really see how you're going to respond to something. We can do that a couple of different ways. Force on force is a really good way, right? So
in training.
So we put some type of force up against you.
Like what, for example?
So an airsoft shooter where they're shooting an airsoft round at you, or a simunition, a wax bullet, if you will. So there's actually somebody that's working against you. It's not just a static target standing there and you're shooting it. It's somebody that's moving and thinking as well. And maybe they're behind something. Maybe they're in their dark shadow, something like that, and they jump out and they start shooting.
And that's enough to get them the adrenaline rush and to know that they're being attacked.
So now let's talk about law enforcement. So what do? They go from crisis to crisis. So all day long,
yes,
they're getting these little shots of adrenaline and dopamine. Little shots all day long. So just a little bit. And God made it so that the body would only give you enough that you needed for the situation, right? Wouldn't dump all this stuff into you and you be all jacked up.
Right.
You know? So now they're getting these little shots all day long. So they capture an illegal. They get him over to an administrator to process, and they go after the next one. Right. So they're going, and now they've got these agitators and these protesters and these people that are really impeding their position. Those are actually adrenaline dumps as well. So little ones here and there because they got to take care of this situation.
And we talked about, you mentioned the agitators. Meg, you were just talking about, are they paid agitators? If they are.
I think there might be leaders where we're like, come on, we're going to be at blah, 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 blah. And there's paid people. And then there's other people that are just like, yeah, I'll join in. And then they go out. So I think there's a mixture.
And if there is some organized agitation that's happening with people who are paid and being told
because
to go out
magically
there.
there's a bunch of bricks
right.
laid.
But
so that's the evidence that we have.
Yeah,
but don't
the bricks
you think,
are laid out there and the signs.
Don't you think people, if they're doing it professionally, they've thought about the impact that has on the officer again and again and again because they know at some point people are people and somebody's going to crack.
And we have evidence that there was some training going on. So they absolutely know how to poke the bear.
Yeah.
And they know how to do it to make it look like they were just only in the street recording.
And they're looking for that sound bite where it's just being pushed to the ground and everybody else yelling, "Stop, what are you doing?"
And they're using these people because they know that they could get shot. They're being used.
It's the optics. They're poking the bear. We talk about that then in CCW class. You cannot poke the bear and then claim that self-defense.
No,
right?
definitely not during perimenopause either.
You
no poking this bear.
What's that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes?
Oh, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
So one more thing that I want to talk about so that we're kind of on the same level together, as we move then forward. So in the state of Arizona, we have a no duty to retreat. So a lot of people think, well, somebody comes into my house, I have no duty to retreat. Okay.
What does that mean?
So let's talk about that. So
well, that's implicating the castle doctrine as well.
Well, yeah. So then we got, so when we look at 418 and 419, which in the state of Arizona, if we look at Title 13 and we look at 418 and 419, those really take care of occupied vehicle, keyword there being occupied, and then your structure, right? If you have a legal right to be there, you have a legal right to defend it, okay? But let's say that you and I are walking down the sidewalk and I have a legal right to be there and you have a legal right to be there. One of us has to be a model citizen, right? We have to give way, right? Because no duty to retreat means I don't have to move.
So who doesn't have to move, the cop or you?
No.
This is a different situation altogether.
Yeah, we're just talking about civilians. Then we're going to add in a law enforcement officer.
So if I'm walking down the sidewalk and someone's coming at me, we both don't have to move.
Stand your ground, right?
So you get out of my way. No, you get out of my way.
Right. So then that starts what we call the monkey dance, right? And
so then they're jumping. You get out of my way.
There was a Dr. Seuss show about that where one guy always traveled north, the other guy always traveled south, and they met in the middle, and neither one would step to the side, and they stayed there for years and built an entire city around them.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, Las Vegas. So think about that. Okay, so we're both standing on the sidewalk. We both have a right to be there. I don't have to give ground. You don't have to give ground. One of us has to be a model citizen, right?
Somebody has to say, it's okay. You go around.
Yeah. Okay, here, I'll step aside. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get in your way. Okay. Stand your ground or no duty to retreat is also that if you feel that your life is in danger, and danger could be anywhere from physical harm or deadly physical harm. Okay, so grave bodily injury or death, I think is the definition. So I I'm in a hotel lobby. I have a right to be there. I've rented a room, and somebody comes in with a baseball bat. I don't have to run to the room that I rented before I defend.
Oh, so you could defend yourself in the lobby.
I could defend myself.
But what if he came in with a baseball bat and you're sitting over there?
Okay, so
He's not coming at you.
right. So then you really have to be able to articulate why you felt like your life was in danger.
Does it have to be yours, or you felt like you were defending like they were walking in towards just a crowd of people and you thought you'd be the hero?
Yeah, so let's talk about defending third party. Okay.
Okay.
So the law here in the state of Arizona gives you a right to defend third party.
Right.
But here's the thing, and you got to really think about this, right? My circle is about this big, and although I love both of you, you're not in it.
Well, unless we hire you.
If the fight if the fight is with you, I'm going to retreat to a better position.
Right.
Okay. So yes, when I was an executive protection agent for different people throughout the country, it was my job then to step in. Okay.
Right.
So just like when I was in the military, it was my job to run to gunfire, right? Or whatever it was. So that's different than just a civilian standing in a restaurant and somebody comes in and starts yelling and screaming at somebody at the bar. That's not my fight.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, we've talked about how if somebody is going to intervene in two other people having an altercation, even though you might eventually be shown to be in the right, don't think that doesn't mean you won't get arrested, you won't get charged, potentially sued as well, and you will have to spend a lot of time and money and time in jail likely defending yourself and showing that you are actually in the right.
Now, I have a question real quick because someone had asked me this. Does Alex's family have a personal injury lawsuit towards that agent?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great question. And here's what you've got to think about with that is anytime something like this happens, people start getting upset and they start saying a lot of things that they don't really know about. And you've got to think first and foremost, are we talking a civil situation or are we talking a criminal situation? So should somebody, if there's an altercation, somebody pulls out a gun and shoots somebody else and kills them, should they be arrested? That's criminal. Should they be prosecuted and convicted and sent to jail? That's criminal. That's punishment. Or do they have the right to sue? That's civil. It's do we have a claim for money damages? That's civil, and it's a much, much lower standard. So to put somebody in jail, you're taking away their life or their liberty. You have to prove a case against them beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the highest standard that we have to put them in jail. To sue them civilly and get money for it, it's just by the preponderance of the evidence. Did it more than less seem like the officer made a mistake? Again, not purposeful, not intentional, a mistake. Was it negligent? And that's enough to get money damages. So I would answer that question and say, expect a lawsuit. There will be a lawsuit, without a doubt.
But wasn't it criminal level because he was impeding what they were doing? And
but that's going to be a prosecution by the government against the individual that did it if they feel like they have enough evidence that he acted intentionally and it rose to the level of a crime that they can get a conviction on. That's something completely different than the family of this Alex bringing a civil suit for money damages for them.
So is it kind of like when it's like comparative fault? Like if there's $1 million policy, they'll say, well, he shouldn't have been here, with the civil lawsuit. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time on purpose. And so does he have some responsibility in that? So he doesn't, like a car accident, if you turn left in front of a red light runner, you're not supposed to be turning in front of that person, even if it's red. You don't assume they're going to stop. You take precautions to say, hey, they're not going to stop. And you still have part in that accident. Suing, do you think the other side's going to say, hey, he had a responsibility not to be impeding the officers, blah, 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 blah. So there's...
Right. Without a doubt, because it would be a negligence action. It would be that the officer acted negligently. And the defense to that was that we all bear our own responsibility. And ultimately, a jury decides the fault based on a percentage basis. So yes, the officer is at fault. He's 57% at fault, but Alex bears a portion of the fault. He's 43%
Yes.
at fault. So the eventual award, call it $1 million, is downgraded by the percent of his own fault.
Okay. That's
Okay,
what I
so
was
yeah,
thinking.
that very much would come into play here.
Okay.
And again, that's solely on a civil side. So where people get confused is they say, well, they're going to get sued. Yeah, they are. They're going to get sued. I guarantee it's going to happen. But that doesn't have any true implication on the criminality of it and whether the officer was justifiable in his use of force.
Well, you always talk about if someone were to purposely run you over and that's a crime, you don't get to have a lawsuit then.
You can, but there's no insurance coverage for that.
That's the difference.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
well, why is there insurance coverage for this then?
no, this would be directly against the government because that's a federal agent
so that's
doing
not
that.
insurance. So there's no cap.
The government
on that.
doesn't have insurance. They don't need insurance. They got all the money in the
Okay.
world.
Okay, that's
So,
that's
yeah.
Or can
new.
print it.
They just print new money.
Can they print me some?
No, but what you were talking about is a lot of times if there is a road rage incident where somebody intentionally hits another person and insurance denies coverage for it, it doesn't mean that that person is not responsible. They're still responsible if they cause
They
injuries.
could personally sue them.
But yeah, and you can personally sue them, but there may not be insurance coverage
well, that's
because
kind of crappy of the insurance company because if I have insurance and someone purposely hits me, how is that my fault? My insurance should still cover that.
no, we're talking about the person who caused the injury.
No, but if I have underinsured motorists,
yeah, well, that's different.
Yeah.
oh, I would be covered then?
It just depends on how the policies are written.
Boo.
Yeah. No.
Now we're getting into contract analysis, which is a whole other area.
Boring.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
So
let's get back.
insurance companies just are trained to say no.
No. You had one leak, no more leaks, or I drop you.
Okay, so in the CWP certificate of, or
I mean, I didn't have a leak. My house had a leak. It sounded weird.
certificate
I don't go leaking.
concealed weapons permit.
Got to get that mechanism in.
Get out of here.
I've lost control. So, concealed weapons permit in the state of Arizona, we got to look at. I talk about there most likely is going to be big boy court, right? That's the criminal side, okay, and then the civil side. So if I have justification to shoot Ken, and I shoot him, but my round misses or goes through Ken and hits somebody that's innocent, I'm going to be charged for that.
Seriously.
Transferred intent.
How would you know? Okay,
Oh, training.
so if he was coming up to murder me, if you were coming up to murder me, I'd rather use you than Ken. If you were coming up to murder me and I shot you and it went through you and hit
Hit Ken.
Well, that's not fair.
I know.
Your intent was to shoot the weapon. Your intent was to shoot Jeff.
Because he was going to kill me.
Yes, and your intent is transferred to the ultimate place that the bullet lands.
You're responsible for that round from the time it leaves your muzzle till it stops. And wherever it stops.
So I have to allow myself be killed by you so I don't
No.
shoot that person.
No,
so then
absolutely
how does that
not.
work?
No.
So if you're standing here and Ken so happens to be behind you, how do I protect myself?
Just move 1 foot.
Oh, you train people to do. So I'd be like, "Ka-cha," and hit from the side.
Okay. We can also work on
That's
angles, right? So if I kneel
scary.
down and go up through the torso, that's a lot more tissue than going through the body.
Okay,
Right.
so this brings up something else. Like, I mean, this is a different thing that happened. So these two teens were just killed, unfortunately, because they were on
That's
a
a horrible
sled.
story.
But the same person that asked me about the civil suit also asked, so if you do something illegally on accident, like this 16-year-old that was driving this vehicle, that this happened, she was like, it's already horrible. I'm sure he feels terrible. Will he still go to jail? And so, yes, he's a kid, but like that, it almost feels like it's not fair. Here's the middle. Marsha. It's not fair, Jan. But it feels like there's difference though in jail time for intent versus unintentional, correct?
Yeah. So again, we're looking at the difference between civil and criminal.
So
And
if I shoot somebody behind Jeff on accident,
was it criminally negligent? Did it rise to a level where you
Should have known.
should have known that it was going to happen that way?
so people really
Possible.
better know the laws. Like it's not
Yeah.
just like go take some little class and not remember like what's happening. Like this is serious. I mean, I'm not saying guns aren't serious, and but I'm saying a lot of people will take one CCW or do something and then say, "Oh, I'm good enough.
Yeah.
If I shoot somebody, I should be fine." But that's not the case. They really, really, really need to study this stuff.
So
And
let me
just
ask you.
just because they might be right in criminal court doesn't mean that they won't get sued.
So let me ask you this question, right? So, and I totally went blank there. That's awesome.
I started talking.
Perimenopause.
That's
We were talking.
unfortunately that's old age.
No, it's
right?
perimenopause. I blame everything on that. No, we were talking about the accident portion of it. Like, what if you didn't mean to? What if you weren't trained? And then I was saying, people really better know these are a lot of things that I guarantee you people don't realize.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about it in class all the time, and I ask people all the time that you have to make that decision, and if you're going to make that decision, you need to make that prior to the altercation, having planning, training, working out different scenarios, where you're going to be, what could I come into contact, is it possible, is it plausible, those types of things, and really, if there's a red line that's crossed, then how do I engage this and really be safe? Okay.
And you teach that in your classes?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we got kind of offset. I want to get back to the police officer. So now it's you interacting with a police officer.
Correct.
Okay. Is that?
Yeah, no, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
No, because you were talking about two civilians not going past each other.
They
Now
each
you're
have
talking
equal
about-
rights.
Correct.
Yeah. So now, so if you look at the stand your ground law and you say, well, okay, I have that. Well, law enforcement a little bit different. Okay. So one, are they working in their capacity, right? So they're not at a coffee shop, not doing anything.
Right. We call it under color of law.
Right.
Are they
Under what?
under color of law?
Right.
They're operating.
Under
Yeah. Just a little bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Under color law.
Yeah. So if they are in their capacity, their duties, okay, so ICE agents were working in that sector.
So even if they're just driving down, I'm just even talking about not even that. Like if a cop is driving down the street and you see two of them and they're just driving down the street, they're probably working.
Yes. Okay. Maybe they're doing traffic control. Maybe
Right.
they're, yes, maybe they're surveilling the area for stolen cars, whatever it is.
Going from one call to the next.
Going from
They're
one-
on duty. They're
Correct.
under
Yeah.
color of law.
Okay. So these ICE agents have warrants. They have a list of suspects that they're going
So they're not
after.
just going and stealing people from their homes.
Not usually.
No, that's what people are saying. I'm making a joke because
Yeah,
that's
I
what
know.
everyone's saying.
I know it's like, okay. No, they actually have a planned attack for the day. Okay. So they're going from one spot to the next. If an officer in that capacity tells you to back up, that is a lawful order. Okay. If you are protesting,
That's not just a suggestion.
that is not a suggestion. That is a do it or else. Okay. And so, again, so we talk about this individual coming to this woman's rescue. He's going to be the hero. He's got the white cape and the white horse. And so he's in the find out phase of the FA phase. he's left the FA and gone into the FO. All right. So, and once you've done that, there's really no turning back. Okay. So the officer now he's got to protect himself. He's got to protect the other officers that are there and control the situation. Okay. So, now I've seen multiple angles of this. I've seen I've seen what I think is available to the public right now. And I saw an individual, and the first time I saw it, the individual walk up and take the gun out of the holster of this individual, right? And I was thinking to myself, who is that? So
because you don't know who's who.
yeah, I was like, is that another officer? Was that a civilian? What was that? I was trying to follow that, right? But again, we look at somebody is yelling gun, gun, gun. That's a trigger, if you will, for law enforcement to say there is a viable threat. The officers, you can see the circle widen really quickly, okay? And an officer draw and start shooting. Now, it appears, so when I went back and started looking at the video, it appears that he's reaching out for something. Whether
Yes, I
that's a
did see that
phone or a
too.
magazine, or I don't know what it is. I can't really see it in the video. When you zoom in, the video gets really grainy, so I can't tell what it is. But if I'm on top of somebody and I'm looking down at somebody because he's on the ground and an officer is yelling gun, 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 the only thing that I can really perceive from that is that he's got a gun in one hand and he's reaching
For something.
To load it.
And if it's a
whatever.
magazine and he's going to put it in his gun, he's going to have something to shoot back or cause threat, right? Grave bodily injury or death to me or somebody else in my circle. So that's the only thing that I can derive from watching these videos over and over and talking to people and watching what other people are talking about it. But I really wanted to get the perspective of the optic nerve and the brain and what it sees and how long it takes.
That's absolutely outstanding information that we've never heard anywhere before. And it really flies in the face of a lot of the emotion that you hear from people like Megan was talking about earlier, where you feel like this is just an officer who's got it in for this guy and is taking out his aggression. That's not what it is. And I think that's when people hear what happens in court much, much later on, and they think to themselves, I saw the video, I saw what was going on. How can this be the result in court? And in court, you have the ability to go through it methodically with experts, break it all down, and talk about the statistics like that so that a jury sees exactly what you're talking about.
You can't put the jury there.
Yeah.
Right? The officer has milliseconds to make decisions. So that's why we train at that level, right? Because we're making those decisions long before we get in the car that morning, right? Why does a police officer touch your vehicle as he's approaching for a traffic stop?
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that either.
He's counting the steps.
Oh.
Because if he gets up there and he looks in your car and you stick a muzzle in his face, he knows how many steps he's got to back up to draw his gun and fire through the back window into your melon.
Wow.
So again, it's something that we train where we start counting. How many steps did it take me to get there? So I know how many steps I've got to back up to get the right angle into the back window. Because if I stop short or I stop too long.
But there's so many, I think the way that the propaganda works is they absolutely make cops be the bad guy because they're not mind readers of the intention of the person.
Sure.
It's, Renee Good says, I'm not mad at you. They just take that soundbite, or they take what looks like this poor innocent man that just looks like, your Uncle Tim. I don't have an Uncle Tim, but oh, he didn't mean
Who's
it.
Uncle Tim?
He ate barbecue at our house last week. You want these police officers to be mind readers, to know he was just going to wiggle around for a little bit and then he wasn't going to pull anything. These are trained people, and it's not the same because obviously it's an animal, but there's this new trend going on where people go by buffalo or elk, not elk, what's the big moose, and you go and you take a picture in front of them, and these moose go, choo, 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 and they go chasing after this person, and in the comments you read, you dummy. Of course, what'd you think? Of course, what'd you think? Yeah. And you're not, I think that what they don't realize is those cops, when they go on duty, they put on duty brain. And you're like, I'm on duty, I'm scanning. You're still a human, but you're more scanning, counting, doing that. Like, how many cops really like walk up to their own car and count how many steps? Like when they get into that car and they put on that uniform, they get into mode. I know when you are going for a deposition or you're doing something in court, I get court Ken. He wakes up in the morning. He's going to get his outfit, not his uniform, his suit on. He's very, he's constantly thinking about that case. I'm not going to be able to talk to him about anything else because that's all his brain is on. That's all he's able to focus on. That's all he's doing. Where people are not considering the fact that when you're dealing with police officers, they're absolutely focused on their job at that moment. And they're thinking about the people next to them. Their officers next to them and things like that. And, I just think then emotion overrides that and going, look it. This guy is being a Nazi, killing Uncle Tim, who just wanted to be like, don't do this. Well, like they make it so innocent.
And then you add in that we're living in an era of the soundbite.
Yeah.
That people are looking for the sound bites and the video clips to post on social media and for the media to blast over the airwaves. We're living in a soundbite era. And so they're looking for that type of volatile information.
Isn't that so true? We're looking for likes. We're looking for it to go viral. We got to have that viral hit. I don't do a whole lot of social media. This is about as
social?
As social as I get. But I also live a different lifestyle. Right? Unfortunately, I've seen, the human race is the most vicious animal on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen what governments can do to people, and it's unfortunate that a lot of people live clueless in what that happens, and then they put themselves in a situation and oh wow, what? How did this happen? And so again, if you're going to protest, you have a right to protest, but do it peacefully and do it lawfully.
And if you are lawfully allowed, if you're lawfully allowed to have a weapon, you can take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm never going to, but again, look at the lawful but awful kind of thing. I mean, I've got lots of stories in a CCW class that kind of allude to situations. This is lawful, but it turned awful. Okay, and only because you didn't think it all the way through.
Right. And just because you can say I'm in the right here doesn't mean it won't go south.
Yeah. You can have your rights all you want in jail.
Yeah.
All right, because that's where it's going to give you. So again, think about. I want you to, if you disagree with something, protest. I'm not saying don't protest. Do it peacefully. Do it legally. Do it lawfully. Okay. That's how you're going to be heard. If you're just a voice out there, they're not going to listen to you. Get on the phone, talk to your representative, talk to your senators, talk to those people back there, talk to local people. That's where change happens. Get involved. We don't teach civics anymore in school.
Well, it's because they'd rather be emotional and just be out there and, waving the fist. And like Phoenix, they were just talking about how they went, and we don't know the full details with zips. They think that they were just going in there and getting illegals, but there's more to that story that they're not talking about. But they said that people are now saying, let's protest with guns, with big guns. Let's go out there with our big guns. I mean, that's one of those things that sounds legal but messy. If you're telling everybody, let's protest and everybody bring your guns, isn't that kind of like charging the situation? Like kind of
totally.
Like inciting?
Well, you're absolutely escalating the situation. It becomes very fluid. Mm-hmm. And what I mean really is the shot heard around the world. Who took that shot? right? So, and it turned into a revolution, right? So you have to be careful because you bring a gun to a situation, a law enforcement officer, every scenario he's in, there's a gun involved because he brought it.
Right. But
right?
then you
Whether the other person has it or not, he brought one. So it's escalated.
Right. And then something else before I forgot, and I just remembered.
Yeah.
You had said intent also, you can be accused of intent with depending on the bullets you have on you and how many bullets you're carrying to something.
Yeah, sure.
So people don't realize, like, you can't go somewhere and saying, I didn't intend to do any harm, but you have 3,000 bullets on your body. Not like you're really going to carry, but can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah.
Jeff?
So when we look at AOJ, so ability, opportunity, and jeopardy, jeopardy sometimes is called intent. Okay. So what was their intention? We can't really know what their intention was, but you got a bag with 50 magazines in it with 30 rounds in each magazine. Your intent was pretty obvious here, to do mass casualty. Okay. Average concealed weapons carrier maybe carry one extra magazine. Maybe. Most, I would say, carry the gun.
So with this Alex, he had 2 extra,
He
right?
had 2 extra magazines. So could that go to intent?
Without a doubt. That comes into evidence.
Right. Okay. I carry 1 extra magazine. Okay. Each of my magazines carries 18 rounds. Okay. I'd rather have them than not need them than need them and not have them.
But you probably carry 14 guns.
I
He won't
certainly
confirm or deny.
Yeah.
Teasing.
I certainly have access to.
Jeff is probably one of those guys. We
So-
thought you were bald. Nope. He pulls out a gun.
But think about my firearm, my pistol that I carry on my waist is for what?
Self-defense.
No, it's to get me to my truck.
Okay.
Where
Oh, yeah,
I have
we
a
have
vest,
Uh-huh.
I have a helmet, I have a long gun, because I'm not going to have a gunfight with a pistol. But it's to get me so I have something to get me to my truck. Now, reason would say that when I get to my truck, hey, I don't need to go back in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I got out of the situation. I'm let the guys that are paid to do that go do that. Hopefully that takes process, getting away from the situation. Let everything calm down, get in the truck and drive away. Because if I grab my gun and I go back in there,
Now you've shown intent.
Yeah.
Now you've shown premeditation.
There we go.
premeditation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So don't want to, but my pistol, if you think about your pistol as being a device, a tool to get you to your vehicle,
That's the way you think about it.
get you out of it,
It's
right?
great
Because I want to
information.
give you a reason not to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Why it's going to change your life.
Yeah, whether they think it or not, it will.
Yeah. If you shoot somebody, it's going to change your life.
life.
In the CCW class that I teach a reason not to shoot. Why? Why are you going to shoot? Why? If you're somebody that says, "Hey, I want to get in a gunfight," I don't know. No, you don't want to get in a gunfight.
No.
Right.
All right. I don't know. I just think it's all so messy. Hopefully something happens, but I feel like as long as Trump is president, there's going to be a lot more of this
Sure.
to come.
But I think if we look at the statutes of the state, we look at the Constitution, at least we start on common ground.
I like that. I mean, if some people you can't talk to because
Yeah.
they just
But we need to have a civil debate about the scenarios.
yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
Unfortunately, we had one administration that opened the door, right? And we got an administration that closed the door.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, again, right, wrong, or indifferent, however you feel about that, I don't care.
Right.
Right. So, but we need to figure out the situation.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, yeah, that was some great information. Meg, do you have anything else that you wanted to touch on today, or does that cover it for today?
No, the one thing that I want to talk about that's very serious is this year I have yet to make my bacon buns. And so
Is this something that I'm not aware?
you're going to have some bacon buns on Saturday.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
very
my dad's
excited.
bacon buns. And so what you do is you make dough. Oh, you chop up bacon, okay, a ton of it, and you boil it.
I'm done at bacon.
You don't like
That's all
bacon?
you-
Oh, you do
No,
like
that's all
I'm
you
done.
needed to know.
Yeah,
So
it's
you chop up a bunch of bacon and you boil it with a little bit of water. And once the water boils down, you still have the fat and the boiled bacon. Then you put that in a meatloaf pan and you let that cool in the refrigerator and get the fat hardened. Then you make dough, this like yummy dough, and you spread it out, let that rise, and then you make circles about this big. And you take a tablespoon of the bacon that's boiled and the fat, you put it in the middle, and then you make this little thing and you bake them. And then so when you bite it, the fat goes throughout the dough and you have like chunks of bacon in the middle.
I'm in.
It's delicious. So I'm gonna
You
make
had
some
me
for
at
Saturday.
bacon. I'm done.
You had me at bacon.
But
But that's all. That's all I had to add. I had because I was thinking I'm hungry a little
All right.
bit.
So anybody who needs the recipe for bacon buns, reach out to Megan directly. And listen,
And
thanks
I might
for
give it to you.
yeah,
Sorry.
thanks for watching. And
And with Jeff, if they want to contact Jeff, once again, how do they contact you if they want their
So-
CCW or training from you?
ArizonaFirearmsInstructors.com. I really focus on teaching instructors. That is the principal part of my business. But I do offer CCW classes, CCW instructor classes, where you become a student of the law. And I got to be honest with you. If you're not a student of the law and you're carrying a gun, you're setting yourself up for failure, unfortunately.
couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Thanks, Jeff. Really
Yeah,
appreciate you
appreciate
being
it.
here.
Thanks
Always
for-
great conversation.
Yeah.
And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. But don't forget, we also run a personal injury law firm, Gerber Injury Law. So if you or anybody you know needs help with an injury, please get in touch
And
with
can
us.
you remind them, we are actually giving away 12, tomorrow's the first day, defensive driving classes that are valued at $2,000 each. So make sure you go online and you fill out the form if you want to be a part of that. It's age 15 and a half to 18. And we're trying to give it to families that are in need. So if you can afford it, just let other people sign up for it. There's a section that you can fill out to say why you feel you deserve it. And what's great about it's driving MBA.
in Glendale.
And if you're not up to date with your driving lessons, they will cover that for you. So that's really good. This is no cost to you. Every single month, if you don't win this month, every single month,
Wow.
refill it out, because we don't want that last person having to, go through however many people sign up for the whole year. So every month we redo it. And tomorrow we will be, we'll be posting this tomorrow. So we will be announcing the young man or woman that won that.
Very cool.
That's what we do. Try and make
It's a
the world a
scholarship.
safer and better place.
Yep.
So thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.